Start it off then. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 51 of Chop 15 with Jay Walker. Hope everybody's having a good Friday, beginning to your weekend. Let me go ahead and get into it because my guest is here, so let's start. Next guest I have known for over 20 years, consider a big bro. Member of Beirut Productions. He is a man of all media, news and radio and video and all types of things. It's my boy Habib, aka Obi's son. Let's bring him in. Yo, yo, yo.
Oh, what's cracking?
Look at him. What's up?
Not a man. I came out for a walk. It's only about 100 degrees, which is nice. So.
Yeah, he said only 100. That's that Arizona talk right there.
Yeah, it's been 117, 118 last couple of weeks, so this is nice.
That's crazy.
What's going on, man? How you been?
I'm good. How you doing?
You know, it's funny how when the world gets crazy, I seem to get busier, which is par for the course. So, I guess I should be thankful that everything's exploding, so we can. I have a job, so.
Yeah, man. How is work right now, man, with everything going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging and like it always is, but I think, nowadays, there's a lot out there, whether it be the type of media you get, where you're getting it from, whether you like what you get, and, I love the choice. I love that people have a choice, if they want to get their news or their, music or whatever. But it's challenging. It gets more challenging all the time, and this year is definitely it's been a little bit different. But we only got a couple months left, thank God, and we can get done with the election, and maybe things will relax a little bit. But other than that, yeah, I mean, the family's healthy. I got a roof over my head. You know what I mean? Simple things.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good thing. What's the school situation like in Arizona? Are the kids at home still?
Yeah, for the most part, they're giving parents, a lot of districts anyway, are giving parents the option. I know about a lot. There's a couple districts giving parents the option. Most of them have decided to just stick with online until, I think the average is right around Labor Day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
see,
on the average.
So funny, man. Everywhere else is like, in the immediate area of Nevada is kind of like, oh, yeah, we're going to stay with the distance learning. Nevada jumped the gun and was like, yeah, let's go back to school. And then they started this week, and they only had 2 days because of all the smoke from these fires. Reno has been under smoke for like a week. So it's like they canceled 3 days of school already. So it's like, why? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, number one, I don't remember Worcester ever canceling school because of smoke. So, I mean, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. I think, yeah, you're right. Jumping the gun. A lot of parents were eager to get their kids back, needed their kids to be back, and I don't, I have sympathy for that. But yeah, I think you got to take baby steps, and our district in particular decided early on, look, we're going to do at least a month, no matter what, and then we'll see what happens, and they'll. Who knows what they're going to do? What have we got? 2 weeks, Labor Day? 2 weeks? Yeah. So who knows what they're going to do and how they're going to navigate that. But yeah, online's interesting. It's not for everybody. My kids are doing good though, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Are you of the side to keep the kids at home until you feel more safe about it, or like what are you like go back to school now? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think. I guess the one thing that I think a lot of us are doing, just see how other districts are doing it, whether it's working or not. But yeah, of course, I want them to be safe. I would hope that at some point we get back to in person. I think socially that's important for any kid. Yeah, but I'm not like in a hurry. We have a situation where, my wife, her company has her work from home, so they're not unsupervised, but they're 13 and 11. So, I mean, in theory, if my kids were a little bit younger, I might be more inclined, to have a different outlook on it. But we're kind of in that scenario where we have somebody at home and monitor them. They're smart enough to where they can figure out online, And worst case, if they had to be by themselves, we could make that work too. So we're just very fortunate and trying to be respectful of everybody's, all the parents, all the input and everything. Just, we'll support no matter what. I know a lot of the teachers, and I feel for them, you know what I mean? I think sometimes that gets overlooked, It's not just the kids that got to go back, it's the teachers. So I listen to them, and some of them are our friends and stuff, so try and support them as well.
Yeah, I got some friends that are teachers out here, man, and they were both like, they didn't want to go back to school right now. And I mean, hell, like I said, they just started. There's already a kid who tested positive at Reed, and he got it after going back to school.
I heard that.
So it's
man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's gonna start, man. It's gonna start.
Yeah, hopefully there's some way that we can, keep those kids separated, or give them what they need. You don't want them feeling left out.
Right.
But that's a 14-day turnaround. So that's tough. You get back in the classroom, and then you got to go out another 14 days. That's hard.
But then, okay, if that person got it at school, they got to contact trace and figure out all the people he was around, and they all got a quarantine. So who knows how many people that kid came in contact with?
Yeah, and some of these kids have big families, and that was the concern in California. Let's circle back around. That was the concern in California, was these multi-generational households. And what you don't want is a kid that gets sick at school and brings it home to the family, you know what I mean?
Right.
And puts another family member, an at-risk family member, in danger. So you don't want to see that either.
Right, exactly. Well, man, speaking of, working in the news and working in the media, I feel you would have a great perspective on everything else that's been going on in 2020 with the news and stuff, man. And I know you're having to cover this stuff and work on these stories and stuff. How do you feel about the tone of the country right now, with everything from police to the racism issue, Black Lives Matter, the election? Like, how do you feel about all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I think you could, working in this business, you document things on a daily basis, right? So it's like every day I'm surrounded by information, and listening to everything and all of the press conferences and all of the data, and it's like it can be overwhelming. But I think what it does on a much more organic level, if you will, is you can kind of keep an eye on. Sorry, Harley. You can kind of keep an eye on how things build up over the course of time. So I go back to like February, when I think we all started learning about how dangerous COVID could be. And, I think it was like, okay, wake up call, springtime. Usually springtime is kind of a happy time for a lot of people. I think March comes around, people are scared and they don't know what to do. They're not getting great guidance from our leaders. And when you tell a bunch of people that, when you're so used to being out in the springtime and being excited, and getting ready to, get ready for the summer, you're being told to stay inside. I think there were a lot of people that didn't know how to handle that. And then you have people that might be losing their jobs. And then it just built up and built up. And so you saw a lot of those protests. You saw a lot of that anger build over when we had Breonna Taylor, right? And then you have the Floyd video. And at the time of the Floyd video, you're on lockdown 2 months. And people are agitated. Some people been out of work for a month at that time. And then they see that. I remember my first feeling seeing that video. Yeah, I was angry. And then the news guy, the news mentality kicks in. And then it becomes, well, I've seen this before, right? Like, this isn't new. That's the problem. This keeps happening. And then, the Black Lives Matter movement was great. Unfortunately, I think there were people who may have latched onto that movement to, take it to another level that didn't need to be taken to. But that's my personal feeling. But then, you go back to, God, I've seen this before. And it's like gun violence. Like, how many more times do we need to see this before there's a change? So it was encouraging that there was enough anger. And again, part of that being from the lockdown, that there was enough pressure there to get people out. It was 100 some odd degrees here in the middle of the day, but we had a couple thousand people on any given day. It was encouraging, but like I said, when is it going to be what are we going to do this time that's going to be different than when Colin was kneeling. You got to remember that was 4 years ago. You know, Kaepernick was kneeling 4 years ago, and what have we done in 4 years? So it's just like a constant cycle. So there was that. I think you've seen a little bit of that die down outside of what you're seeing in Portland. And I follow and have met some of the local Black Lives Matters organizers, and they're still very active on social media. There's still protests. They had one last night. There's going to be another one at ASU this weekend. That's good to see as long as it's done the right way. And, but look, we can't forget that there's a message there. And, I hope, like I said, I don't know what we have to do differently. What I hope is that we're not 4 years from now having the same conversation,
Exactly.
But yeah, a lot of the protests happen outside our building, and it's like anything else. You got to be careful. But then, of course, we're in that environment where the media is the target. So it's challenged us as the media to try and cover it respectfully and trying to cover it safely, but at the same time not let that small group of people who have a different agenda murky the waters for what those folks at BLM are trying to do. So
right. Do you feel that you guys have covered it in a objective way, or was it one-sided? Was it leaning one way or another with
I don't know.
Depending on where you get your news, it can be kind of guided towards whatever they want it to be. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because I work on a local level, which is separate from the national level, and I have much more control on the local level of how things are covered, and it's a group effort. We're all trying to, as a station, and as journalists, especially in this market, we're trying to represent all sides. It's a challenge, right? Because you don't know, you don't know the group's this group's agenda over that group's agenda, right? You don't. You show up to these things and it starts one way, but typically ends another way. So we got to be careful, because I certainly don't want to, as a journalist, you don't want the protest to become just the story, right? Like you don't want, they're throwing stuff at rocks, or throwing rocks at cops, or trying to break into buildings or burn stuff down. But at the same time, what's the message? What they want is they want to end police brutality. So you want to try and convey it. Hopefully you have sound bites to back that up. Hopefully you have, visuals. That is not, you don't want all your visuals to be just riots. You want to have like you know what I mean? You want them standing around holding signs, chanting, having conversations about this. You don't want this idea of what is BLM, and then you start showing video of, tear gas being deployed and stuff. Like there's another side to that. So, yeah.
Because because there's a lot of people out there, I guess you could say gullible, because they just believe what you put in front of them. So if you don't put the right thing in front of them and you skew it one way or the other, they're going to go with that because that's what they're seeing. They're not going to, there's some people who don't fact check or try to, go further and just question further.
No. And again, it's a catch-22, because you have so much information at your fingertips if you know where to find it. But and you have so much at your fingertips that can cater to what you're interested in. So yeah, that can work against you. And I personally, I'm maybe a different mold where, I want to keep an open mind, and I believe words matter. So I think it's important that we listen. I don't think there's enough listening in this country. I think there's, everybody has an opinion, which is great. But sometimes even that little voice in our head, we have to stop, and we have to, just block all that out for a second and listen to what the person's saying. Or, and that can work two ways. That can work of you might learn a different side, but at the same time, you might learn something about that person you didn't know. Because again, words matter. We're in a time when, like you said, there is so much out there that caters to a certain group. And like I said before, I think that hurts more than it helps. But what are you going to do? It's Facebook or it's Twitter. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Like, Facebook just doesn't offer me as a person much anymore. And I don't know if that's just
Yeah,
because of what I do, but I don't go to Facebook for anything really. Um, Not like I used to, but even then, I think about it, wasn't anything. I wasn't going there for videos or anything like that, or news for that
right,
matter. So,
right.
but for certain groups of people, Facebook is it. It's their source.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, and you can find any group or anything that you like in there. There's groups of everything. There's groups that hate this, hate
oh
that, hate brown, hate hate
yeah,
hate hardwood floors. There's groups for everything. You know what I'm saying? So you can find like-minded people on Facebook because everybody has it. And honestly, I wouldn't even have mine anymore if it wasn't for my older family members, my aunts, my
right,
uncles. You know what I'm
sure,
saying? My dad, my
yes,
mom. You know what I'm saying? Like
because
other than that,
that's your
I don't
access to
know.
the. Yeah, I mean they don't unless they're using other social media. Um, and again, like I said, it's great for that, but it's not. It doesn't hold the same weight that it used to, and part of that just maybe because of everything that's happened over the last 10 years, since Facebook really blew up. So
So what's your title? Like what do you actually do job wise
um,
for like the news?
yeah, so I work for the local affiliate, the Fox affiliate here.
Mm-hmm.
So my official title is I'm an executive producer. Um, I'm primarily focused on special projects, but we have I don't know 7 or 8 different newscasts throughout the day. So I help with some of the earlier newscasts in the daytime. So I wear many hats, but I'm trying to focus just on special projects, and those aren't just investigative pieces. Those can be feature stuff. We do a lot with our drones.
Okay.
It's the eye candy is what I call it. We have segments like specialty segments that we air at different shows. So my job is to kind of manage that and help get stuff shot and written. I will say that the one thing when I try and describe my job to people, I try and remind them that I was still working in a creative environment, and for me that's important. It's like you, right? You're a creator
Mm-hmm.
of whatever it is. That's very therapeutic, and it's obviously a little more cookie cutter type, creativity. You're still reporting the facts, but visually on the visual level is where we can do a lot of different things, and that's I think where the drone is important. Yeah, I still, I started in film, but found my way back into TV, and I've been able to kind of merge the two. So look at this, dude. We had a storm last night. Look at this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, somebody's tree just said, boop, I'm done. Um, yeah, so that's been, I try and be as creative as I can in the job, especially with special projects, spend a little bit more time on them. And I've been doing that last couple of years, more so than I have like producing a newscast. For years, that was my job, as I was a producer and I put together an hour-long newscast, try and pick the biggest stories of the day, and let my viewers know what they needed to know, what I thought was important.
Right. So let's talk about the beginning, man. Let's go back to Seattle, man, and let's talk about
Oh,
how you met those other brothers. Or you met them in Reno, right?
yeah. So, I was in, 30 years, 1990, my dad moved us up to Reno, and that was my sophomore year in high school. And at the time, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in Reno, no family, no nothing. And I met, I was playing basketball down the street from the house, called them the dunk hoops. And yeah, this truck rolls up, and these dudes jump out about my age. And it was Sterling Doak, and let's see, Justin, Jake Kane, and Matt Reyes, and a couple other cats. But that's how we became friends. And they were really the first friends I had at the high school, at Worcester. And then we just, we all had things in common, right? We were all some of us were from California, right? We all kind of moved out to Reno at that time. But we all had a love of hip hop, and that helped. Basketball, and they just became like my friends. And even after high school, we would hang out a lot together. I went back to California to go to college, and I would drive up every weekend and hang out with them. And then that's when the idea of maybe making music, or for me it was film, And then they found their way up to Seattle. I kind of bounced around after college a little bit. And then I called Matt one day and I was like, yo, I was in Florida at the time. Wasn't happy. He's like, yo, you got to come out to Seattle. This is where it's at. I was like, oh, okay. And Stars had already been out there for a minute. And he's like, we're trying to, it's Babe Ruth thing's finally coming together. You got to, I was like, okay. Packed up my bags and I was gone within like a day.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, I got to Seattle about 98. And, Seattle, I went to college in San Francisco. Well, I went to college at the Academy. And, Seattle reminds me a lot of the Bay Area, a lot of San Francisco. Sure. So I felt right at home. But it's a great city. And, as soon as I got there, we all moved into the same house. And we had a studio. Well, you've been there. We had a couple houses, a couple studios. But it just felt comfortable. I think it was the first time I had, after college and all this, really first time I felt like I was back to my roots because these were the guys I basically grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, music is the key, and those guys were producing a lot of music, and of course they met Glenn, met Gomez. They had Defon. They had a lot of guys they were working with, and I think, like I said, I think all of us, some way or somehow, we like to create, whether it's a craft or something. So I'm very fortunate that I have a job where I can still create, because if I didn't, if I worked at some job, at a desk job, punching in numbers, I don't think I'd be very happy. I think a lot of that stems from being with them in Seattle and creating. And I took a different path, obviously. I didn't stick with music. But what I learned with them and about myself, being around them at that time, that was huge. And, it was after I left Seattle was when I put more focus on TV and radio. So I had dabbled a little bit. I was young. I wasn't committed. But I always said Seattle, I think, was one of the best thing I ever did on different levels. But it challenged me. I saw them being a lot more creative than I was being at that time. And when I got back into TV as a photographer, I used some of that and been like, I have an opportunity here. And I got focused and started working both radio and TV. And it was fortunate because it got me to this point.
No, I remember after Seattle, you were back in Reno for a while, and you were working in the radio in Reno. I came and actually seen you at the station. Tell me a little bit about the radio experience.
Radio was something that I got exposed to when I was young. Really TV too, but radio, especially with, I remember being in high school. And Sturge's mom, I think, worked at the station. I had some family friends that worked at a radio station. So I got exposed to it early, but one of the first things I learned was not a whole lot of money in it. And so it wasn't something I took very seriously. And I hopped around. I did some part-time work at other radio stations in California. Had some bad experiences with it. And when I got to Reno, it was obviously in a different environment, a little bit more mature. And really started, again, being around people who are creative. In fact, I don't know how many people in Reno are watching, or will watch it. I was working at that station when Wild first started. And it was like the early stages, and we were doing a lot of production for it and stuff. And I remember thinking that, being in high school in Reno, back in the day, there was no urban station. There was no it was one station, K-Winds. And then being a part of, that was it. That was for us. That was it. And then, fast forward to, again, after Seattle, like 2001, 2002 was when Wild first started. And that was like the first urban station. And I felt proud of being a small part of getting that station off the ground. Fighting to get like another, I was much older at that point. So, a station like this I had already been exposed to, but there were a lot of people in Reno, I think, that needed that. And, that was cool. Like I said, the business itself is fun. It's a lot of corporate. If you can find like an independent station, it's good. But radio, I love it. I think yesterday was National Radio Day. Nice. I have nothing against, I've worked at, like I said, a number of stations. Only one station have I had an issue with, but my experience in radio was great. It just, for a career or even trying to support a family, it's a small niche. So TV was much more suited for me.
We won't put the station on blast, but what was the issue that you had?
It was a bunch of us young people trying to run a station, and we had no business running. It's if you've ever worked at a business or a small company where most of your employees are under the age of 25, that's a problem. There were little things, and I was in college in San Francisco at the time, so I think maybe I had this idea that it was going to be more than it was. Part of that's my fault, but it was one of those things I look back, I'm like, I'm a film student. What am I doing working at a radio station? I mean, it was a check, but it wasn't much of a check. And I thought, this is stupid. And just we had dudes sleeping at the station, stealing stuff. And it just was like, it was like a frat house. I'm like, man, that's no good. I got enough of that at home or wherever. I don't need that at my job. So.
Right. So you went to the Academy of Art in San Francisco. That's where you went to school.
I did.
You were in the film.
Yeah.
You were in the film class or the film course.
Yes. So, because I know a few people that have gone there over the years, which is always shocking to me because I know, man. I know. Now, I went there in the mid-'90s when it was still the Academy of Art College. Hadn't quite reached university status. But they were a very small liberal arts type school, and they had they just started the film program, I think, about a year or two earlier. So it was an opportunity to get in, before things got out of control or too difficult to get into. But it's part of the experience is being in San Francisco. Part of the experience is living in the city. But with that experience comes the expense. So going to school there and trying to live and work in the city was, it was a experience. I mean, it was tough. Not cheap. Not even back then. That was 96. So not even back then. It was.
Yeah, that's so funny. I just realized I had 2 interviews this week with Academy of Art graduates.
Oh, nice. Well, I would have. I don't know how everybody's experience was. You always look at, did you get your money's worth? No, I don't know if I got my money's worth. It was a great experience. And Matt will tell you, too, I mean, they've seen a couple of my apartments there. They were not great. But would I do it again? I don't know. It's a fine school, and if you have kids that want to go there, great. But the money that I paid for just a book, I got $100 for a book. I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah, that school, it's gotten a little crazy. And it got to the point when I was working there that they were almost considering that school like a scam school or a front because the owner was just using it to buy property in the city and like skirt around taxes. Because she was buying up all types of property. Like she's one of the biggest property owners in San Francisco, the president of that school. She owns like so much shit. And she skirts around it by we're a university. So
the nonprofit status and yeah. I read that a couple of years ago. The land grab, if you will, and they were doing that back in the day. I mean, I think there were like 4 or 5 different locations for each class. Some of them they got so big. I had one art history class that was in the banquet room of a hotel at like 7 in the morning. I remember thinking, why am I art history? And they just show slides. 7 in the morning, just show slides. Like, dude, I can't stay awake. I mean, art school's art school. You got to expect a certain amount of cost to it, but they had some really good equipment. Don't get me wrong. Edit bays were great. I mean, you were going to learn the best, and I used a lot of the skills I learned to get jobs, as an editor or a photographer. But that place. I remember this, they wanted like $3,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment at that time. First, school apartment. Like, what? I can just go to I can go to the Tenderloin and get one for $800. I'm good. So, and get some excitement.
Crazy. So, man, are you working on anything like passion projects? Anything on your own besides work? Or is it work right now, work based?
Yeah, no, it's work. I get enough of the I feed my need for that at work. I kind of like to decompress when I get home. I will say during the pandemic, one of the things that's been therapeutic, obviously, is music. It's always therapeutic, but you know what I mean? Like, you get to maybe revisit albums you hadn't listened to in a while and that kind of thing. But I got my guitar restringed. One of my daughters wanted to start playing it, so I'm going to pick that up and maybe start to, fine tune those skills a little bit. But I am very fortunate that I've got drones and cameras and different things to play with at work. I like to relax. As you remember, you got to find that balance. I'll be so consumed. Like you got to get out of the studio. You know what I mean? You got to that spurs creativity a little bit when you can find the balance and decompress. So that's what I try and do at home.
Yeah, for sure. I feel you on that. Especially me working at home now these last few months. I definitely have to. Some days when I come down, there are days where I don't even come down here and power anything on. I just got to get away from it. It ain't recharges me.
Totally.
I come back, I get right back to work, and I keep doing what I need to do. You need that.
Yeah. You definitely have your comfort zone, right? You have your space, which is what I'm jealous. I even told Matt that. I was like, yo, I'm jealous. You guys have a basement. Jake, Justin's got his space. Stur's got his space. I unfortunately, with kids, I don't have that space yet. But someday I will, and I'll get the editor back up and stuff. But I think it's important we all find that balance and not get there was a time when I was totally consumed by work. It's not healthy. Not healthy at all.
Yeah. For sure, man. Shit, what's next for you, bro? In life in general, man. What's next?
Well, I think, short term, just trying to get through the end of the year. I'm heavily involved in our election coverage, and I got to get through all that garbage. You know what I mean? Just get that behind us.
Those are long hours, I assume, right?
Yeah, there'll be a few coming up. It's going to look a lot different because a lot of the people I work with aren't allowed to come back to the building yet. As a company, we're taking it very slow, which is good. I think in the next couple of years, most of the people that we have work from home. Their technology is great. We can actually have them produce, write, edit, things like that at home.
Nice.
Yeah, that's obviously you got to have good internet. That's the only problem. But at the station, we're very skeleton crew-ish. And eventually I want that to change because, again, like I said, I work around a lot of creative people, and I want to be around them to create, and not having them or not seeing them as much. I can only be so creative on a Zoom call, I can't. Yeah. I want to have these conversations and develop ideas and things like that, and we'll get there. But I think going forward, the next 2 years at least, work on getting my drone license. Do a lot more with the drone stuff. Drones are going to get better as time goes on. Trying to find new ways to, present stuff and interviews. Might do a few investigative pieces. But it's, the family, kids are going to school. Hell, this time next year, my oldest will be in high school. So, if anything, if you talk about, what's going to take up my time the next couple of years, it's going to be those two, for sure.
Right.
So.
Definitely.
But what about you, man? I felt bad. I texted Christiane. I tried every time I go to Reno. It's a struggle because my in-laws are there, my stepdaughter's there. It's like there's not enough time in this world to be able to see everybody. But next time, sure. probably March when I get back up there. We'll hopefully this COVID thing's done and we can actually hang out. Hopefully.
That would be nice. That would be nice, man. That definitely would be nice. Yeah, because there's not much hanging out, especially when it comes to the house, man. If I hang out with people, it's outdoors, so it's definitely weird not having anybody at our house. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to Seattle, man. We told Sturs we gotta figure that out too. Probably won't be next year, maybe, but that was fun. That's always good, even if I don't create anything while I'm there or whatever. Believe me, it helps. You get back here and you're like, you do this and find different pieces of music to use on some of these stories, and so I need that kind of that. Again, that's the balance I need.
Right. Well, shit, bro. Man, you've been on a nice little 30, 35, 36-minute walk. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's right. Calories, baby. Got to burn them calories. Like I said, this is the nicest it's been in like a month, and it's 101. So, but I like
crazy. You're enjoying 101 degrees. Most people are probably like, man, this was crazy. But I guess when it's 118 all the time, you gotta enjoy 100.
Mm-hmm. And my air quality is pretty decent compared to where you're at right now. So I will definitely enjoy.
I ain't been outside all week. I ain't been outside all week. It's that shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you, man. It's not good for you. It's not good for you.
Well, shit, brother. Thank you for your time, man. I ain't gonna keep you too much longer. Let you get back to the house, do what you gotta do.
Sure, man. I'm just gonna go. It's Friday. It's Friday. I'm gonna go have a drink. I'm gonna chill out, rehydrate with a drink.
That's what's up, bro. Well, shit, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, for sure.
Much love to the family and the kids. You guys stay safe out there, and man, keep in touch, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know how it is.
You bet. I'm looking forward to new music, bro. Scott album was dope. I liked it. Can't wait to hear them. Can't wait to hear more.
I got stuff coming, so stay tuned. I'm working.
All right, man.
All right.
Stay up.
Peace.
Like.
All right. I'd like to thank my brother Habib for spending some time taking a walk in 100-degree heat to holler at your boy. Man, I mean, you know Arizona crazy. If you saying 100 is cool, but it's what it is. So, yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out with us for a minute. Hope you enjoyed the convo. Next week is going to be a kind of different week because I have a lot of work on my plate, so I will not be doing any interviews until next Friday. I will have my boy Big Sammy from Woodland, Cold 12ers. I'll be interviewing him next Friday, but Monday through Thursday, I'm going to be working. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys again next Friday. All right? Stay safe, stay aware, wear a mask, and be kind to each other. Peace.